Welcome to the Scaling Creative Podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about goals, and we decided to ditch coffee.
Yep, we're ditching coffee for wine today.
For wine, yeah. This evening.
Just felt right. We were drinking Pinot Noir Dreaming Tree, Dave Matthews wine, if you've never had it before. I like it. Do you like it?
I do. I do.
Very
like
good,
it.
right? Are you more of a red wine drinker
100%.
or white? Red?
Red.
Really dry?
No, not really
No?
dry. I tend to like a blend, a red blend.
How about you?
I like the red blends. I like this one too. It's really nice. I tried to do that teeth thing earlier.
The Gary Vee thing?
Like really professional looking.
And he choked.
That.
She did.
That's good.
She was like crying at her desk. I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah, I tried to do that cool thing where you
do that cool thing where you taste it through your teeth.
never works out when you just...
I'm not that fancy.
Also, then, doesn't it make your teeth like really red? If
Probably.
Did I do it? They're probably red.
Like, they're just super red.
No, you're totally good.
No.
You're good.
It might, though. I don't know. My wife drinks coffee through a straw because she says, like, that's...
I have heard. Yeah, I mean, I have friends who drink their wine with straws.
Interesting. Everyone's like, wait, what is this podcast about? Right,
Actually, it's going to be about goals.
Yes, it is.
And you brought this up today.
Yeah, I just thought about the fact that, like, it's just, well, as we're recording this, it's almost Christmas. And every time, like, a new year starts, naturally, everyone's talking about what they're going to do. And so it was kind of the thought of, I think Ben mentioned it to me, just like the thought of what are you looking forward to in 2020? And then I was thinking about that in business and life, and just goals are just this like the goal time of year.
It really
Everyone
is.
always sets goals.
Yeah. Is it something that you do every single year where you set a goal or an intention or have a word for the year? Or like what?
I think I'm trying to do it more. I think I haven't very
in
much.
The past. Okay.
Like, because I kind of always am goal oriented.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to do this. I'd like to do this. But I think I'm trying to get better at, which we're talking about in the podcast, making a goal, setting a timeline for it, and then actually examining how the goal is going.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Is it's just easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to set goals. Everyone sets goals.
Yes.
But if you don't actually track it, or have someone helping you, so we'll talk about that. But I want to track goals more because sometimes it's also you can feel like you never really achieved anything because you never look back.
Right.
So it's kind of the reflection of it's looking back / goals. That's kind of what I was thinking about with the podcast.
Okay. Do you usually do that every year? Do you set anything? No.
No, I don't like the whole let's wait till January to get in shape or eat it better or do this or do that.
It's now.
Start doing it.
If you think about it, just do it. And I hate the gym at this time of the year too.
I know because
it's so packed.
Yeah.
And then you slowly watch these people drop out. Like,
You know, didn't they say like gyms stock like 20-30% more gear even in this time of year every single year, like January, February, and then they put it back because it's
I know.
All of a sudden,
I used to have this mentality of being annoyed that the gym was full. Then I'm like, you know what? There are people trying to do something good. So like, let's try to encourage them to stay by creating a really good environment.
Yeah.
But I don't actually go to a gym.
Instructor, so you knew.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But that's, I think, what we want to talk about is just why so many people don't follow through with goals.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable how quick people fall off these huge goals they had like by February.
Yeah, because they say that 92%. This was a study done by University of Scranton.
Hey. Dunder Mifflin. Probably the Dunder Mifflin
big deal. Very legit.
If it's University of Scranton saying it, I can back it up 100%.
But they said that 92% of people that set goals at the beginning of the year don't actually achieve them.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy. Which I believe. That's nuts.
It's definitely true. But probably, I mean, the people that actually do stick with their goals, and we're going to kind of focus on this a little bit today, of what is it that those people do that helps them to actually stick with it? So I know you brought up an acronym.
Yeah. Let me get my phone out. Yeah, it's an acronym. So a podcast, if you've never heard of a podcast called Focus on This, it is a new podcast from like Michael Hyatt and company. I think it's kind of like a branch of his company.
Yeah.
Called Focus on This. And the acronym that they brought up was called S.M.A.R.T.E.R goals. And so they used this of kind of saying like how to make your goals try to stick a little bit more.
Yep.
So it was specific, not vague, meaning, and they gave a lot of better examples. I'll make sure I link it in the description because I don't want to just take what they said because I think they said it way better because they actually had it really thought out. But specific, not vague, measurable, actionable.
Yep.
Don't use be, make it an action. They were saying like, I really, really like that too. But listen to the podcast, you'll like it. R they said was actually risky, which I know that you said you've heard a couple of different ways. But I think maybe the other R is the one you're saying.
Realistic.
Yeah. Because for some reason I didn't write down the final R, but maybe.
Oh, maybe. Realistic, yeah.
I think I wrote down smart and then I forgot that there was rest of it. But R was risky. T, which was my favorite, which is time keyed. Your goal needs a deadline.
Yes, it does.
And then E is exciting. And then R, let's just say, is realistic. But to me, the one that stuck out the most was the time keyed one because I think that if you don't, a lot of people will say, I want to, let's just say in a business environment, we want to grow our client base by 10, 15%. Well, do you even have goals of like what it looks like to get there? And are you tracking it? Do you even have like a realistic, so when people say they want to get in shape, it's like, I want to get in shape this year. But you're not making it as time keyed enough to actually make it stick. And so I really liked that idea because I feel like that's something a lot of people don't do, or they do make it very specific, or they don't make it very specific. They don't make it
specific, yeah.
Which is, I think, huge.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year, one of the biggest reasons why it doesn't stick is because you make it so big that in the beginning, when you're like quote unquote motivated, you're able to kind of push through it. But the thing is, and this is why I actually love this book so much. This is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It is such a good book. And he really talks about why people don't make their goals and to really start focusing on habits, which we talked about this in the last podcast, like the importance of habits when it comes to small, tiny little changes with your money. But same thing with whatever your goals might be, is thinking about instead of, I want to lose 20 pounds or whatever that might be. Some of the things that he's saying is I'm going to walk for 10 minutes every single day.
Right.
And starting with a habit that's really small, specific, and easy. Like he talks about how important it is to have something that's actually easy to do. Because I think he calls it like the law of least effort. Because naturally, we want to do the thing that's the easiest. So if you can help yourself by like setting up something like it's really easy to do one push-up a day.
Right.
Just one push-up every single day. We can all do that.
Yeah.
But when you're doing one push-up, you're probably going to do a little bit more. And then once you get into the habit of doing something, you start to add onto it because you get more confidence and you're building on something really small and it grows.
Yeah, we talked about that last time too, about the idea that when people say, I want to start going to the gym 5 days a week, but they've never gone 1 day a week. And it's like, start somewhere.
Yep.
Because you get energized by the one time, the small little tiny action step that seems so small. You like become proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay,
I can do this.
I can do it. I can go. And it's a big thing in finances, but I think that in any of these goals, and that's why I think he was also on one of the podcasts to listen to, and he talked a lot about that. You should always have like action steps in your goals exactly for that reason of if it's my goal to grow 10% client base, well, the very first tiny action step might be like, I need to have someone run numbers of what this year's clients were. Like instead of just simply being like, okay, go to the very end, I want to get 10% more. Right. It's what tiny action steps should happen immediately and then get that one done and then the next one and the next one. Because it's always just, it's so vast and large that you end up not actually even wanting to do it because you're like, that's just, I really want to do that, but that would require me doing just one thing at a time.
Yep.
And that's where I think the realistic also comes in.
Yes, exactly. And Michael Hyatt has a great planner that not everybody is like a pen and paper kind of person, which I totally get, but you're a pen and paper.
Definitely.
Why do you think that helps you?
Something about writing it down. I think it does something different in your brain than typing it. I don't know what it is, but
I think they have said
it's like scientifically proven. Yeah.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah, I think it works better for me than just typing it out on my phone even. Something about physical, because I could
physically writing it.
We have all the resources we need to be that organized, but when it comes to goals and things that I have to do for the day, even that simple, a list on paper is actually helpful.
Yeah, I think it makes sense from a distraction standpoint. Probably is where I think a lot of it's linked.
Yes.
When I'm in a notes app on my phone, I just know
on your phone.
everything's right a swipe away to another whole world of YouTube and everything else. Where if you're in a room looking at goals, writing on pen and paper, that pen and paper cannot do anything else. So it literally requires you to
focus,
only be able to write.
Right.
And I have found, because I remember back when I used to play music full time, when I'm just like thinking about this now, but when I needed to memorize lyrics to a song, like a song I was going to sing or a cover song or whatever, if I were to write it down and then like look at it on paper, it would stick in my brain so quick.
Yep.
Compared to just even finding it or looking at it and not trying to memorize it. But that's literally why like that full focus planner is getting delivered to me today.
Yes.
And I if you know me, I am as anti-paper as it comes.
Yeah.
And so I really have no clue what the experiment will be like. But I do think that there's something to be said about the distraction side that maybe is why it's so much linked to success.
Yes.
With writing things down.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I think they call it the focus planner, is because it really does help you to be focused. Right. And I love a lot of it because I think I've had 2 or 3 now focus planners, and I love the ritual aspect of it because I think, and that's again too the habit side of things, is that when you can form a ritual or a habit, like your morning routine. And even in the full focus planner, it has like the way that you start the workday is the same. The way you wrap up a workday is the same.
Yeah, because he's huge into that, Michael Hyatt.
Huge.
Yeah.
Because it actually does really help. And in the Atomic Habits book, he talks about this whole concept of the 2-minute rule, which is essentially something that you can do in 2 minutes that will help you set up. It's almost like an entranceway to a highway. So if you struggle with your morning routine, or if like everything is always stressful in the morning, what you do at night to set yourself up. So example, healthy breakfast. Okay. So instead of thinking, I'm going to make a healthy breakfast tomorrow, like that's going to be one of my goals. Every morning is going to be a healthy breakfast. But then you get up later than you planned, and like, you know, the kids are running around like crazy and you just don't have time, so you grab the thing that's probably unhealthy. But at night, if you put out your frying pan, get out the cooking spray, like put out the spatula, get out the dry ingredients.
Like eliminating excuses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but all those types of things, I mean, I know it's a food example, but you can easily translate that into business, work days, all that kind of stuff. Like just those moments that will set you up for success.
Yeah, and I think those routines are important. I think it's also why if someone's going in with a big goal in 2020, you need to realize that if you were previously not doing any of that and you're now expecting to do something new, and you, especially if you're busy, which everyone says they're busy, you're not just suddenly finding time for those things. It's going to require an adjustment of what am I not going to do that I was doing if I was so busy that I couldn't do it in general or whatever. You have to really, it takes like dedication and really saying, okay, if I'm going to work out 30 minutes every day, where am I going to do it? What time am I going to do it?
Yep.
And if there's only a certain time that you can do it, you have to literally make it part of your routine and not just say, well, if I get done with work and once I'm done eating, if I feel like doing it, then you won't do it.
Correct.
You have to literally make it, and everyone's going to be different in that kind of stuff. Like working out to me is very random right now of when I do it, but some people have to start every morning with it, or some people like to do it before they go to bed.
Yeah.
But you build a routine and then your body kind of craves it in the same way. In the same way that I get up and I have to have a cup of coffee. It's for some people that they have to work out right away.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
is it hard for you to get up and make a cup of coffee? Is that hard?
Nah. But going back to the 2-minute rule, it's made before I wake up.
Yeah.
I make it before I set the timer, and I wake up and it's hot and in the pot, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But so that's a habit. Yeah. Just in a different way. So if you can link it to your goals in that way, it's just awesome. And one of the things that I love that he says in the book is that we're always so focused on figuring out the best approach or planning for something. So like we always have these, if you have like a vision board or an action plan, like we focus so much on figuring out what's the best diet plan for me and researching and doing all of this stuff. But action is the only thing that delivers an outcome. And so he said, when preparation becomes a form of procrastination, you need to change something. You don't want to merely be planning, you want to be practicing. So if you want to master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. And in the book, he talks too a lot about how best is like the enemy because so often we want it to be perfect when just do something.
Yeah.
Don't be perfect. It's okay to just be good.
That's actually a really good point too, because I look at that in the same way that you can be overly organized and overly, and you could be so organized and so trying to get everything like in place that you never actually do anything about it. And you're like, well, okay, well, you spent a little bit too much time organizing.
Yeah.
You didn't actually spend time doing what you were trying to organize.
Yes.
It's definitely true. I like that.
Yeah. And, gosh, I mean, seriously, we could probably talk about this book for forever, but essentially just figuring out it's okay to plan. Like, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle to figure out, what you want to do and where you want to go, but then really break it down to super simple things. Like even running a marathon, for example, you're not going to get up tomorrow and run 26.2 miles. Sometimes it starts with literally putting on your running shoes. Like that could be your goal for 30 days. Just put on your running shoes. That's it.
And put them on the edge of your bed, 2-minute rule, so that you trip over them.
Yeah.
So you have to actually put them on.
Yeah. Put your workout. Like what I actually do is I make sure that my workout outfit is ready and like put out. My socks are there. Like everything is there ready for me to just get up, put it on, and get on the bike.
Yep.
So that's always my goal. Is just get on the bike.
Yep. And for me, a big thing, like, because I just started working out kind of for the first time in my life, and I realized that I had to figure out what I'm huge into excuses with working out. It's so easy for me to make up an excuse to not go. It's too cold out. It's too far, even though the gym's like 3 minutes from my house. But I realized if there's something that can eliminate those excuses, which for me was actually just getting something that was in my home instead.
Yeah.
It was worth me doing that because I found that the only excuse I kept making was not that I even didn't feel like working out. It was the drive there, the getting the jacket on, was making me not go at all. And I'm like, if that's the only thing that's actually keeping me from it, solve the problem.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
And everyone's solve is different. But I think that it is sometimes looking at those things like, why do I keep failing at this goal? Or what keeps me? And if it's like you said, getting your clothes ready in advance, if it's whatever it is, really thinking about that. And I guess that's kind of what he means in the 2-minute rule is, yeah, it's just, you're prepare to not have excuses, like put things in place so that you can't have an excuse, and then you'll probably end up doing it.
Right. So like even, more examples of the 2-minute rule are instead of read before bed each night, it becomes read 1 page, right? Because you can do it in like 2 minutes. Instead of do 30 minutes of yoga, it's take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Fold the laundry becomes fold 1 pair of socks. Run 3 miles becomes tie my running shoes. So essentially it is learning how to do a really tiny thing that leads you kind of removing, like we already said this, like removing some of the excuses from it. But I really think that more people would accomplish really big goals if we focused on really small things to start.
What do you think is the biggest goals that you've set that you continually fail at?
Well, I've been thinking about that acronym, the S.M.A.R.T.E.R acronym.
Mm-hmm.
The E really kind of interested me. It's excitement.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep your goals exciting. Because I get bored.
Right.
And I'm talking about working out. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably, I don't know about other goals. I don't know how much excitement you can really add into other goals. But with working out, it's so monotonous after a
That's
while.
exactly how I felt.
People
Yep.
leave the gym because they just don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
They're so sick.
Yeah.
They don't want to get in their car and drive to
Yep.
the gym. It's so
Right.
boring. Like, I don't
Yep.
have time for this. So to find ways to keep it exciting, but still on track with your end result is kind of difficult.
And that was a big piece for me. Like it was the driving to the gym, but more importantly, it was I would get there, I'd lift 3 things and be like, now what?
Yeah.
And I didn't have anyone tell me. So I was like, all right, I need something that talks to me,
engaging.
that walks me through,
it's
that is different every time. I could choose different courses. And this is not like a promotional ad for the mirror, which is what I ended up purchasing. But it's literally was me saying like that was a legitimate excuse for me of I just get bored.
Yeah.
And I, as a Enneagram 7 who's all over the place, if I'm bored, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
And if that wasn't the excuse plus going to it, it's like, okay, well, then get something that changes it up all the time, that requires you to do different things so that you're not bored.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a fellow 7,
Yeah.
I actually have a Peloton.
Yep.
And so kind of the same thing where it gives me a lot of variety and there's a lot of different instructors. And one of my things, I actually love to work out. I have my whole life just been an athlete. But in this season of life, working 9 to 5, being a single mom, I love to work out in the mornings, and I can't just leave my child home alone and go to the gym.
Yeah.
So I was just really struggling with like figuring out when to get my workout in. And so I got a Peloton because it's there.
Right.
I don't have the excuse. It's different and interesting. So you kind of have to figure out what works for you. And I like your part of, okay, what's the thing that always holds me back? And tackling that piece of it.
And maybe to some people, it's literally accountability.
Yes.
That's a major
huge
part of a goal.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to do anything, but no one's keeping you accountable, it's just easy to not do it.
For sure.
If you have a friend that meets you outside at 5:00 and starts running with you, you're probably not going to sleep in or not put your shoes on because you feel bad because now they're
Something about that
outside.
pressure from one other person, at least, knowing that you're not doing what you said.
Yeah.
You do. It's just.
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
hard.
for sure.
Yeah. It's,
Yes. I
And
think workout,
why?
and I think a lot of times people have accountability with workout partners.
Yes.
But then they both fall off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we both aren't going. Or they try to blame the other person. Like, well,
together.
they just never ended up doing it. And like, why didn't you?
Yeah.
You could have still went, but
Which is why you have to have that personal why, but then adding accountability in is definitely helpful.
and especially in business, it's a no-brainer that you should be able to have the accountability in business.
Yeah.
Because whether it's with some employees, whether it's for me, I started meeting with a business coach that was not in my organization.
Yep.
Because it really helped me to be able to actually just talk about things that wasn't like someone I was working with that would have an outsider perspective. But it helps because multiple times already in the 2 months I've been going, he'd be like, okay, well, how are you doing on that? I'm like, I'm getting to it. Which essentially is like, no, I still haven't done anything like I said.
Yeah.
And he's the one keeping me accountable of, hey, you can't just keep setting goals and not actually make the next step into them. And without the accountability of it, because I can, as a 7, I can have ideas and goals all day.
All day long,
That's what we do.
Yep.
The problem is what we also do is not actually always complete them.
Yeah.
And so it is crucial that I have someone being like, hey, remember you said that the goal was for you to do more of this?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Yep.
And it's the same with anything, any goal.
For sure. That's a huge piece. I actually, a couple years ago, hired a business coach, and he ended up being kind of like a life coach for me.
Like that, right?
Yeah, it really does. Because I remember the very first question that he ever asked me was, "What's going on in your personal life that's holding you back?" And I was like, "I'm dating someone I shouldn't be dating."
Business.
Yeah, but he said
they're linked.
Yeah, they're totally linked. So once I actually removed that thing in my life that was really holding me back, I had my best year ever for probably a few different reasons, but mostly it was because of him. Like I had to figure out my personal life, get that, stuff figured out. And then it like cleared a highway for me. Because visually, I think if you're struggling with something in your personal life, it blurs your vision. You can't even see what's in front of you.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on maybe one of these podcasts about you can't, like business and personal is tied.
Yes.
There's just no way around it. Like you can't come into the office having a terrible morning or a terrible relationship with your spouse and be in a great mood. They're linked, which is why like I love Michael Hyatt's podcast of like Lead to Win about the two wins, the winning in business and in life. Because they are hand in hand. And when you are having a great day at your house, work tends to be better and vice versa.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a great point too. Of if there's a goal that you keep not achieving, maybe it's linked to something else that's holding you back. Maybe you have a friend that's doing the opposite of accountability. That's like pushing you down. I think even parents can do this. Hate to say it. Yeah. With kids of like. Someone's really passionate about something, but you have that negative Nancy who every time you make progress, you're like, yeah, but it's like, what about this? And that's maybe you end up quitting your goal because you're like trying to impress or please that person.
It's so true.
So it's like really evaluating all sides of it. The good accountability, the ones that people that are tearing you down, the excuse you have of going here, going there, and trying to really evaluate it.
Yeah. Will, that was just on our podcast last time, he was telling me that at his job, they were going through like the wheel. Have you ever heard of like the personal wheel of the different 8 areas of your life?
I'm not sure.
It's like spiritual, physical, like financial, all these different kind of like a wheel of life. And you rate yourself based on like how you think you're doing in all those different areas. And kind of focus on having a little goal in each one of those. So that way your goals are very like well-rounded, which I thought, that's a really interesting, I've heard of it, but I hadn't heard it in a while. And so it kind of brought me back to that. But I liked your point of the people bringing you down. Have you ever heard of the story about the crabs in I think it was some kind of bowl where when a crab starts like climbing up and he's like almost to the top, the crabs like try to pull you down. You're like, where are you going with this?
No, I know exactly where you're going.
Never heard that, but
you never heard of it?
But I get exactly what that means. Yeah,
like you have to have people in your life that are not bringing you down and instead like bolstering you up. Is that the right word? Bolstering?
Pumping you up.
Lifting you up. You need.
Is it called the win wheel in your life domains?
I don't know.
Because this was part of what I went through in what's called a life plan, which was with a business coach.
With a business coach.
But that's kind of the same. That's why I was looking at this to try to figure out because I think it's the same. That you evaluate your overall life domains, like your personal different thing, and how you're doing.
It's funny how people gravitate towards like the main goals that you always hear about, and they like that's really helpful because don't forget about your finance goals or your personal goals or your family goals instead of just the two like let's do the gym, let's do this in business. Like there's typical goals that everyone thinks about every year. Let's start it this way, but you got to focus on those little ones too.
Yeah, when I went through that life plan thing, that was part of you had like these different colors. You can't see it on the screen if you're watching, but you had these different colors and you'd say what your goals were, what your life things were, and hey, where am I at right now in those? And am I trending up or am I trending down from it? Yeah. And then the idea with it is that you continuously reevaluate and say, okay, now today. So a year ago or 3 months ago, I said I want to do this, and I was trending up. Am I trending up still? Am I going down?
Yeah.
And then trying to evaluate it. Because I feel like everyone should have multiple people in their life. Like, I feel like I have people that speak the truth, first of all, no matter what. And it's not that they're trying to pump you up or down. It's just they speak the truth. Yeah. There's other people that are like your motivators you go to that are just always, yeah. But you can't listen to everything they say either because they're always your fan.
Yes.
Like, parents can do that too.
Yes.
Where they're like, you should be the next movie star, or you should sing. Like, you can't sing. You shouldn't do that. And then you also have the opposite of people that you will never make happy, and you shouldn't have those people in your life, but being aware that those people exist and thinking about who you're listening to, I think plays a huge factor into the goals, because you also have to be driven by your goals.
Yes.
I think a lot of people set goals that other people have kind of set for them.
Yes.
So they're never feeling like they're even going to get closer to the goal, because there's no excitement, no joy in it at all.
Right.
Because you're living someone else's goal. And because I think when you are actually trying to achieve a goal that you really set out for, I know the big thing that I've heard too about is just like understanding like what is the driver behind doing the goal in the first place? Like, what emotional driver is it? What reason do you want to achieve the goal? Makes a big difference.
For sure.
Because you quickly find out, like, if you have no passion and there's really no drive, there's no heart behind achieving the goal, you're never going to achieve it.
Right. It's like finding your why.
Yeah, you have to understand like what you're doing it for. And once you do, then the goal becomes naturally more excitable.
Yes.
Because you actually are the ones that want to do
yours,
it. Yeah.
And when you have ownership of something and it's like for you, as your purpose, like it's your why, there are some things there are some motivators that you don't even need because you're internally motivated. And I wrote about this recently where I went for a walk in a park that's near my house, and there's these 3 lanes. I don't know if I've ever talked about this in the podcast, but there's a walking, it's called the slow lane. Like, literally it's written out, slow lane. And then there's a rollerblade picture.
I know.
Do you know which park?
You talk about the park?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. And then there's a biking one. And so it's almost been 2 years ago, I refractured my back. And so I finally got to the point where I was allowed to walk. And so I was like walking one day at the park, and this old man, he had to be in his 80s, literally is like running by me. And then another guy like bikes past me. And I just was like looking over at the lanes, and I was really annoyed with my lane because I was too busy looking at everybody else in their lane. And that's where like comparison really kills you, which is like social media, all these different things. We see so many people achieving their goals and we're restless because they're probably resting in their purpose and we're wrestling, but we're looking at everybody else around you. So I think that one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, like as you set up this year, is just take some time to really think about what you want and the things that you've been gifted with and the areas that, for me, it's like where God has called me to be. So like taking some time away from social and don't be in anything and just have a piece of paper and start writing and just figuring out what you want to do, not comparing yourself to everyone around you.
Yeah, and defining like what is success to you, because I think it's very, very common in business. I found myself, you naturally look at
everybody else.
Jeff Bezos. You look at like these unbelievably huge CEOs, entrepreneurs, and naturally, if you're just thinking that is where you eventually have to get, well, you're gonna fall pretty short,
flat on your face,
pretty often because there's very few mad people. But it's like that might not even make you happy anyway. And understanding like what success is, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that start a business and then have tons of employees and then tons of stuff, and they're more miserable than they were.
Yes.
I'm guilty of being in those places at times where I'm kind of like, man, this is a little different than I thought it was going to be when I thought it was really fun to build a business.
Yeah.
And understanding like what is a win to you, what is actually success to you versus what the world tells you success is, really is the key. Because there are plenty of people that make a ton of money that are miserable, and there are plenty of people that make barely any, and they're incredibly joyful.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your win?
Yeah. When you have you ever been on a missions trip?
I have.
When I went to Jamaica, I taught at a deaf school for 3 different years. And I was just always struck by these kids that have literally nothing.
Like a soccer ball and nothing else in the...
Yeah. Like, because we would drop them off to their homes that were shacks. That looked worse than my shed does in my backyard, and there's 10 kids.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like joyful. And it just always really got to my heart of, goodness, why don't I have this much joy?
And it's because they don't have anything to compare it to.
Right.
Like, they don't have the money to have devices most times in those kind of places. So without the devices, without the seeing everyone else, all you see is what's around you, and everyone's just like you.
Yeah.
You already think you're winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's an awesome YouTube channel called Yes Theory, and they're all the whole concept of their thing is seek discomfort. Mm-hmm. But they did this one thing where they went to, it was called visiting the least populated country in the world. So the least populated country in the world was literally like this tiny, fascinating by the way, this island, like the smallest little, I didn't even know it was his own country.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the same thing. They went there, the people were unbelievably happy. Like they're like, I would never leave here. Why would I ever leave? And I'm looking at it like, how in the world could you live there? That looks terribly boring.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have internet. Because we only know that. Mm-hmm. But you wonder, like, are we like? It'll be interesting to see 50 years from now as we continue to like progress through this internet thing and everything we have. What studies eventually come out of people that have been living with it their whole lives,
right?
And not that it will ever go away. It'll just be really interesting to see if it ever changes. That as they start to really, like, no one thought smoking was bad until everyone started dying from cancer.
Yeah,
because after tons of research, they were like, "Wow, this is actually really bad for you." Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting. The internet's only been out for like 20 years, 25 years. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So it'll take 25 more years of social media, of devices nonstop in people's face for them to actually be like, let's look at studies and are like, because without question, like the suicide rates are up, different things are up. Mm-hmm. Is it social media's fault? Who knows? Yeah. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see, like, does it ever, people eventually stop smoking as much because they realize it was bad for you? I wonder if that will change.
I don't know. So if you can kind of think about some of these things, what are, like, do you guys know what some of your goals are for 2020?
I have more of a question about what I'm going to do when I finish a goal. Because I've finished goals before, and then I'm like, what do I do now? You know? Do you just kind of coast because you finished it? That's where I have my issues. Like, I don't set a goal at the beginning of the year, but as I make goals throughout the year and I finish them, that's kind of the worst time for me at the end, because I'm like, all right, hit my benchmark now. What do I do now?
Yeah.
I feel like making phases of goals is actually better for me. So,
or to set goals unbelievably high and then you can never get to them. And you're always only making steps toward it.
But for 2020, maybe just to make goals that, you know, you have a plan afterwards, or you know what the next step's going to be. So sub goals and then the bigger goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there a habit that you would like to establish or begin establishing?
Putting you right on the spot there.
I know. I don't know.
Have some more wine, maybe.
I started it. Like, after we moved here this summer, I got in a habit of, like, I stopped exercising. I stopped working out. We were just moving. We were so busy. And then I started to kind of do that again as a habit. And I mentally was like, I gotta start doing this every day. And then when I don't do it, I feel bad. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. So I don't know if it would start in the new year, but I just want to keep rolling with that.
Okay.
And then if I get to like a point where I'm like, I've reached my goal, I don't want to stop, you know, just because I finished it.
Right.
And I think that's a valid point of to not beat yourself up.
Yes.
Of the week that you fail in a goal or the month you fail. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can't change if you missed going to the gym for a week. Nothing you can do about it. You missed it. So nothing thinking about it whatsoever is going to do nothing other than being like, this week I want to try to go at least one more time than I did last week.
Yeah.
It was none. Well, it's easy.
Yeah.
You got to go once.
Yep.
But just not beating yourself up about any goal and realizing that it's probably, you don't get fat and unhealthy by eating one cheeseburger and fries today.
Right.
It may set you back the tiniest bit, but more in your head than anything.
Totally.
It's not really that big of a deal. It's just don't develop the habit of doing the thing that's not actually getting you to your goal.
That's the realistic part of goals too.
Yeah.
You're a human. You know? Got to be realistic with it. If you set it unrealistic goal, you're not going to make it and you're going to fail.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to be not willing to set more goals because you didn't make that one.
If you say, I'm going to eat clean every day this year, like you're totally setting yourself up for a really bad disappointment.
Want to do it.
Right? Yeah. But that's a good point too about like not beating yourself up, because it's okay to make mistakes. It's really all in how you see things anyways. But even, eating poorly, it's really a habit. We're all great at setting habits. It's just, are we setting the right ones?
Yeah.
So, if you can eat poorly every single day, you can also eat much better every single day. Yeah. It's literally the same thing, just same habit. Well, different habit, but like the same concept, essentially.
It just takes work. It
really does.
It takes, no goal happens by thinking about it. You have to actually do something.
For sure.
That's what the action steps are. They're very, very important. And little actions are what get you. If everyone tomorrow said they're going to start running for 5 minutes a day, they could do it very easily.
Yes.
Then you start to like the 5 minutes, and it makes it 10 and 15 and 20 and 30. And then suddenly you talk people, your dad's one of them that like runs every single day. And there's people that I know that run 3 hours a day or 4 hours. I'm like, what in the world? Like, how is that even possible? How are you not bored? How do you have the time? But it's not an option for them.
No.
But they didn't start by getting, you know what?
Correct.
Tomorrow I'm running 4 hours a day, every day. Like, this doesn't happen.
Nope.
But your dad could never imagine not running. Like, it just...
Yeah.
You have to build up to it. So for me, like, my goals are obviously to continue to grow the company, but to have systems and different things in place. But realistic goals can be hard because you don't necessarily know. I'm a dreamer.
Yes.
I always want to set crazy goals. But if I said, okay, well, I wanted to double revenue, if I don't double it, but I get 50% or 40%, growth is still growth.
Yes, it is.
So it's like, set big goals, but keep realistic that if you're still growing, you're still growing, which is good. But I think, the realistic one could be a little tricky because everyone always says dream big.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How do you draw the line of realistic? I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just that the realistic is don't beat yourself up if you don't hit it, because maybe it was unrealistic and you achieved a great goal. It's just you didn't realize that the number was a little bit absurd to think about.
Right. And it is okay to think really big. My one friend, she had a goal of becoming $1 million sales director, which is $1 million in sales as a team. And her first year that she had the goal, she did 250,000, which is obviously not $1 million, but she kept the goal. She kept the same poster, changed a few things. The next year they did 350, and then she kept the same goal. The next year they did 5, and then 750, and then 950, and then she finally did $1 million. But she said that was always the goal.
Yeah.
And she was okay as long as she was moving in the right direction. Yep. So it's okay to dream big, but just know that sometimes it's going to take a little bit of time.
And if you're trying to reach a goal you've never reached, you don't necessarily know how long it's going to take you. And you can't even just say, well, this person did this business and they grew it to $1 million in a year. Well, the business could be different.
Yeah.
The situations could be different.
Totally.
What might seem like what you want your goal to be might not be possible that quickly. But move in the right direction. Keep moving. Evaluate. For me, it's just like looking back, evaluating more, building systems that allow me to actually look at a business and be able to understand what's working, what's not. Is like my goal this year is to literally just be able to get more organized in the systems side of my business. And I think that in turn grows revenue.
Totally.
In a big way.
Totally.
But I don't have a number goal because I'm a dreamer. Like my number is, there's never a goal. It's just keep growing the business.
Yeah.
And what that looks like, whatever. It's got to keep growing. And just try to build the other things so that I still have sanity in life of not trying to feel like I'm just working
all the time.
Yeah. So I guess that would kind of be my goal too, is just trying to be more present in non-work situations, which I think is always my goal, but that's a really hard one for me.
Yeah.
But that's little steps. Big time
that could be like
a
a 2-minute rule thing.
It's, well, at the minimum, that 2-minute rule is just put your phone somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, and that's very hard for me, but it's like, okay, well then, if that's too hard right away, like to say put your phone in your bedroom until 9 p.m., like that seems insane to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's no phone time between 5 and 6 for now. Like, just little steps to eventually be like, oh, I didn't realize I haven't used my phone for an hour.
Yeah.
2 hours wouldn't be so bad. 3 hours wouldn't be so bad.
Good when you accomplish those little steps.
Yes.
Because they're attainable for you.
But suddenly people being like, I'm not going to use social media for all of 2020. What? That's a little absurd. You've been using it for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years now. You're not. You can't just quit it.
2021,
like
Facebook's not going to be a thing.
Like,
TikTok's going to be for grandmas. Like my grandma's on TikTok.
Yeah, things change so quickly, but
because I haven't even read that book, but I've heard a lot from that guy, and a lot of those things.
So good.
I'll have to read it so we'll put a link to that book down below too, because I think the habits thing is a big thing that anyone would talk about.
Yeah,
fitness being a big one.
So how he begins the book is, his name is James Clear, and when he was in high school, I believe he was like a sophomore, he got hit in the head with a baseball and was like in a coma. And when he woke up from the coma, couldn't do anything. So he had to learn, every single small thing was a victory for him, learning how to just take a step. And so he took these small, tiny changes and really brought it into like the rest of his life, which is, I always love stories like that.
Yeah, I do remember hearing that now, because he was on a podcast and he briefly talked about that.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't know that it was the way that they made it sound in the podcast. I didn't actually even know that was like the real story.
Yeah.
Because it kind of was like, I know with you, it's just like you got hit in the head with a baseball bat one day. I thought it was more like a...
No, like he was like...
I'm enlightened. Let me write a book.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, he like literally legit did. But then he ended up going to college.
And that's why it says tiny changes, remarkable results.
Yes, exactly. He went to college. He ended up playing baseball still. But his story is incredible. And it's just really... I love to learn. I'm such a learner and I love to read. Not everybody likes to read, but so get on Audible if you don't like to read. But even just starting out with something like a new book for the year is a great goal too. But
okay, so
you could do that. Could you read a book in 1 year? One book. 2020.
I've read books that I like that are business books, but I like to listen. I definitely prefer to listen to books for sure, because
you can do other things when you're listening to it.
Except when I do that, I end up not listening and I get double checked.
I know.
Wait,
yeah.
What just happened?
I know. I know.
But no, I'm gonna try to use that planner, write down goals, spending focused time on. I've put it in my calendar now, like starting each day planning, ending each day briefly, because that's kind of the whole idea with the full focus planner too, is your big 3.
Yep.
Looking at it before you go to bed.
Yep.
Making sure they still mark, and even the big 3 is like tiny habit goal, like of little things.
Yeah.
You may do way more than 3, but it's like starting with just what are the things that has to be done, and that's the same with the goals. Like, so that's going to be a big thing for me, is just trying to schedule things out more, because if I schedule my day out more, all the things I want in life, like more time, dedicated, focused time with my family, it becomes easier when you feel like you accomplished the stuff that you went out to accomplish.
Yes.
The reason people don't turn off work is because more times than not, they're not getting things done, and it usually is linked back to all these things. The systems aren't in place for them to actually get the goals. The goals are always behind because they didn't develop the systems, and then they're not present in a place because they are still thinking about what they didn't get done.
Yep.
So for me, they're all going to be tied together.
Yeah,
I know it for certain.
sure.
And work and family life will be tied in a huge way for that. So write down your goals and comment below.
Yeah.
What are your goals?
We would love to know.
What are your goals, and what are your tricks to make your goals actually happen? Because everyone is different, and I think we can learn a lot from a community of people.
Absolutely.
So,
any final thoughts?
I like this wine. You should check this wine out. Pinot Noir Dreaming Tree. It's very good.
It's good. a good idea.
We're gonna start having wine with every podcast, hopefully, and review wine from non super wine connoisseur point of view. Like we know nothing about it. We're just gonna she'll just keep trying the tea thing and choke on air. But yeah, changed it up a little bit. It's fun.
Well, I'm glad we got this opportunity to talk. I'm excited to hear what you guys are going to be doing. And if there was something that was like a big takeaway for you, I always love hearing what other people take away, from it, because everyone's a little bit different. So thank you for listening or watching wherever you're at. Like, subscribe. Feel free to share.
And we will link all the stuff that we talked about. Some of these books, some of the podcasts that we really like, because there's a lot of really good podcasts right now about these topics. A couple of good full podcasts listen to, or just certain episodes and stuff. But
should we link Mirror and Peloton?
Yeah, all that. We should. Like the wine, every little thing here, like these microphones. This is a full value podcast. We'll tell you about just everything. Your glasses.
76ers went last night.
That's right.
And they lost, but.
Oh, well. But anyway, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Happy New Year. When you're watching this, it could be like a year later from when this even happened. So you could be watching this. This one probably watching this in June of 2020 right now. I hope someone watching this and they're like,
never a bad time.
That's right.
To think about developing better habits, setting goals. It's good.
It doesn't have to be January 1st.
Does not have to be January 1st. And in fact, start today. Whenever that is.
This could be January 1st.
It's good. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.